Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, as we learn from St. Augustine, Doctor of the Church, while we read his book, Confessions. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims. St. Augustine and his buddies are wishing to have basically a man cave in today's readings. This is a bit of a lighthearted reading, and I think you'll get a kick out of a bunch of men, some married, all wanting to live in a space together so that they can have some peace. We are reading from Book 6, Chapter 14, on page 130. A group of my friends who detested the bustle and worry of life had all but decided to live a life of peace away from the crowd. We had thought over this project and discussed it together a great deal. The plan was to arrange this life of leisure by pooling our possessions and using such money as we had between us to create a common fund. In the spirit of sincere friendship, none of us would claim this or that as his own, but all would be thrown together and the whole would belong to each and to all. We thought that there might be about 10 members of our community. Some of them were very wealthy, especially Romaniasis, who came from my own town. He had been one of my closest friends since boyhood and had come to Milan on some urgent legal business connected with his affairs. He was most enthusiastic about our project, and as he was far richer than the rest of us, his opinions carried great weight. We had agreed that 2 leaders should be chosen each year to deal with day-to-day problems while the rest of us were left to live in peace. But I was hoping to get married, and some of the others already had wives, and when we began to ask ourselves whether the women would agree to the plan, all our carefully made arrangements collapsed and broke to pieces in our hands and were discarded. Once more we turned to our sighs and groans. Again we trod the wide, well-beaten tracks of the world, and thought jostled thought in our hearts. But your will stands firm, and in the wisdom of your plan you made light of ours and prepared the way you had chosen for us. You were ready to grant us in due time our nourishment, ready to open your hand and fill our souls with your blessing. I can only imagine how this conversation went down with many of these men's wives. So, honey, Augustine and some of the other guys want to have this community where we pool all our resources together and just live in leisure and peace. What do you think? Now, it's unclear if the women were going to be allowed to join or if they were just supposed to be okay with the men going off to create this communal life. I believe it's the latter because they said only about 10 people were going to be involved in this community. Either way, once the wives were brought into the conversation, the, quote, carefully made arrangements collapsed and broke to pieces in our hands and were discarded, unquote. Sorry, guys, the ladies weren't having it. Well, this is a bit of a lighthearted reading. The thing I think that we can take from it is that our homes should be places of peace. It is my honor as a wife and mother to make our home a place where people are comfortable, able to relax and enjoy each other and feel safe. Doesn't mean it will always be quiet and still, but I do want our home to be a haven. All families have disagreements and arguments, but for the most part, when my husband and kids come home, I want our home to feel safe, secure, and full of love. And no matter if you are a wife or a husband, this should be our goal. That is all for today, Catholic pilgrims. I'll see you back here soon, and until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.